Hello, and welcome to this thing. I am starting and calling Pleoverse Deep Dives, where we take an article from the Pleoverse wiki and look a little deeper. Or maybe not, maybe just a brief overview, because this isn't something I plan to do often. This might even just be a one-off thing. Anyway, I plan to start with Joey Jenkins, and I actually already recorded that, but for whatever reason, the recording software capped at 5 minutes. So we are going to pick a different article. And I am leaning towards how about Butthenhagen? Butthenhagen is a militaristic oligarchic republic and founding member of the Nelloist Confederacy. Their motto, if you can hold a gun, you can win a war. That's a direct quote from Sir Oligarch 13, aka Joey Jenkins, who I mentioned earlier. The government of the nation is known as an oligarchic republic, a largely made-up form of government existing only to justify their near dictatorship. The nation's currency is cocaine. Yes. And as such, recently, as of 2035, which is well, not actually the current year, that's last year. It is now May, which means it is 2036 in the Pleoverse. They switched to the gold standard. We are now on gold standard. Cocaine has become more expensive than its given value. To compensate for the sudden wealth change, we are artificially causing a depression and recession with the wonderful power of taxing the heck out of everyone and forcing small businesses to increase their sales license fees to ensure that we have more money than everyone else, and they're still poor as dirt. In other news, our economy is thriving. Yet another quote from Joey Jenkins, who is prime oligarch. Butthenhagen is located between Russia and Alaska. Well, what was once Alaska, now it is part of this weird Canadian American empire. The nation is partially comprised of ice sheets, but is otherwise barren. It is home to the Schlongelschlaf, its national animal. You'll definitely be hearing a bit more about that later on. They reportedly have a population of 2.9 billion, but considering the economic input and output numbers, that figure's more likely around 90 million. The nation accidentally sparked a civil war within its home of the Nelloist Confederacy after prime oligarch Joey Jenkins made a comment about Vorkman and it caused a bit of an uprising. Prime oligarch Jenkins is currently in Butthenhagen custody for, well, defecating in their garden and claiming it to be his. His sentence will be for the next 18 years, I believe. There are several major eras in Butthenhagen history. The Maple Refuge era that lasted from 1700 to 1716, which, was creation of the country. 1716 to 1843 was the colonial era. 1842 to 1889 was the Caxelon era. Caxelon was, a great evil, bad dictator guy. I don't know. Caxim is named after him, and he's. I'll get to it later. I'm 1889 to 1984 was the imperial era, and 1984 to I believe 2024 was the communist oligarchic republic, which is sort of encompassed in the Lee Ridge era, which is from 1984 to current day, which is when they helped create and joined the Nelloist Confederacy under Pleomopia. This is a bio. It's very long and potentially outdated, but I'm going to have a shot at reading it. Here we go. Ruled by a small group of 8 rich people. Sorry, I had to take this to recording. Ruled by a small group of 8 rich people, the Great Council, aka it was actually changed. Okay, sorry, losing track of what I was saying. It was once ruled by a small group of 8 rich people called the Great Council, but it was later changed to the Council of 13 and now 14 oligarchs. There are several smaller groups who are in charge, big quotation marks there, of the smaller city-states. They may make suggestions to the primary oligarchs, but these ideas will ultimately be rejected because the smaller groups are pointless. and only exist so that they can be called a republic. So people will like them more. They were the driving force in the Maple Wars against the Canadian British colonies. They were originally uh, both a part of Canada and Russia, split territory. The Maple War was fought by a small group of British and Russian colonists who fought for their independence, despite the war only originally being about the importing of maple syrup from Canada to Russia. Very funny. As their relationship with Canada became more bitter, they rejected more of their ideals, including socialism, democracy, monarchy, and social equality. They remain neutral with both Russia and the United States to this day, despite them secretly planning to invade Alaska and claim it as their own. Of course, that plan is now defunct because it's been taken by their weird empire thing. They have several spies living in Alaska, posing as Americans, and are planning the economic collapse of Alaska by raiding several Walmarts. With their hatred of the Canadian people, they had once decided to, instead of adopting their two primary languages, Russian and English, as their official languages like Canada did with English and French, create their own language, a combination of English and Russian that is mandatory for children to learn at school. The language was once dubbed Alto-Russian by other countries, despite not having an official name. And as such, until 2026, Butthenhagen had no official language before they decided to finally name the language Syriacan. It is essentially just English with the Cyrillic, I don't know how to say it, Russian alphabet. Once again, avoiding Canadian ideals, they adopted cocaine as their currency at this point. And due to poor farming have to have all of their cash printed in Mexico. Shortly after gaining independence from Canada and Russia, the country was established as a dictatorship before it became the infamously named oligarchic republic, being ruled by the surprisingly kind Felipe Juningo at the time. He was kicked out of office by the oligarchs because of his kindness being too Canadian. Throughout the First and Second World Wars, the country remained mostly silent, but found themselves at times taking advantage of the failing USSR and Nazi relationship anti-war contracts. Don't invade Poland, guys, by hijacking their food and weapon supplies in times of confusion during the latter of the two wars. To this day, Butthenhagen has taken part in no wars aside from the Maple Wars, which gained them their independence. That is now no longer true. Death Mountain, the Battle of Death Mountain, actually constituted as its own micro-war from between the Kranix Union and Dia. They actually had a short war with New Collion, and of course the Great Butthenhagen Nellois Civil War, and they accidentally created their own splinter faction, and then that was taken over by Lily, and then the Wolf Clan thing happened, and they fought against them. They were in a lot of wars, most of which were in the past 10 years. Because of their paper-thin laws and a poor justice system and little to no reinforcement of said system, Butthenhagen has a crime rate of 0% and an estimated 1,000 citizens imprisoned for reinforcement of said system. Crumbs. Imprisoned for roughly, uh, you know what? That's not true anymore. This is very outdated. I really need to rewrite this. Their country's government is failing, being an oligarchy, and are looking for new ways to survive in the modern era while still avoiding any and all things Canadian. Butthenhagen was the driving force in the Civil War as well as founding the Kranix Union. In 1918, Butthenhagen allied itself with the nation of Pleomopia. They began mass manufacturing the once illegal drug Lumpus and has multiple military agreements with the nation. In 1984, Butthenhagen joined the FCFC Alliance, or Fascist Communist Force of Coalition, with oligarch Joey Jenkins representing the country as one of the alliance's grand Fuhrers. The country's relationship with Pleomopia became less and less productive for the nation, but continues. However, importation of Pleomopia's moto has paused due to economic troubles in their relationship. The invasion of Alaska is halted due to new relations between allies such as Pleomopia, because of which an invasion of the United States would be problematic. A plan has been devised by oligarch Testes Gordos, yes, that is his name, to regain the love and patriotism of the sad, drunken, unlawful populace, to use holographic projections in the capital city to create a religious movement by creating a fake god of Butthenhagen, converting all citizens to this new religion and swaying them to be more lawful. The project was to be known as Project Pop, but has since been canceled. A whole lot of what I just said was completely outdated, but hilarious nonetheless. Butthenhagen is located in the position of the theoretical landmass known as Beringia, which shares a name with the ice bridges. In this alternate world, Beringia is much larger than the ice bridges, more resembling itself thousands of years ago. I guess that's a little bit of real world information in there. The FCFC evolved into the Netherlands Confederacy at the end of 1984 after Playmobil had accepted the two nations, Butthenhagen and Butthenhagen, as a part of the new continental Netherlands. Following a duel between Oligarch Jenkins, Vorkmanastro, the 521st, and Suzuki-Nav Crablock. These are the known names of the oligarchs. Not a lot of them are public entirely. Of course, Joe Jenkins, Testes Gordos, Felipe Chinengo, who's actually still in office now. They let him back in. Benini Napoleon, Charles Skronk, Frank, Samuel Bryson, Chaz, Jens Wergen, and the 14th oligarch, which is a very new thing, in equal position to prime oligarch Jenkins, Calamar Caxium, who is for the most part filling in while Joe Jenkins is in foreign custody. This is an overview of Project Blacklight, Project Pop, Project Prop, Big Rocket, and Nucleon 1 and 2. So this is Project Nucleon 1 and 2, really summarized. In 2017, Butthenhagen entered a civil war against the fascist terrorist group in Slovakia and won. The nation adopted many of their ideals and continues to use them as a fake terrorist organization within the Confederacy, a puppet of sorts, to this very day. They've launched several strikes against the nation Nucleon and even caused a division of the nation and the formation of a temporary country, Great Nucleon. In Slovakia, with the help of BRAF, the Butthenhagen Regional Attack Force, collaborated with the Nucleon Mafia and Playmobian agents to assassinate the leader of the country to ensure Playmobian control. This is Blacklight and Rocket summarized. Butthenhagen is one of the... Oh, come on, it just links to the server. Alright. Whoever wrote this, cough cough, me, did a very poor job. Project Pop was tested Playmobian sciences for the betterment of the world as people ultimately ended in temporary removal of several TX-25 agents from the country. This was the religious thing. Butthenhagen, they have their Butthenhagen Regional Attack Force, or BRAF, is a top-secret organization and longtime collaborator with TX-25 and the scientific Hattenpers Info team created to build the most powerful weapons known to man. These guys are war criminals, and you don't want to mess with them. The Butthenhagen economy is worth 55.3 trillion cocaine grams a year, is driven entirely by a combination of government and state-owned industry, with private enterprise illegal. However, for those in the know, there's a large, well-organized, fairly... Something just happened. Okay. There's know-how, well-organized, fairly diversified black market in arms manufacturing, uranium mining, retail, and furniture restoration. The private sector mostly consists of enterprising 10-year-olds selling lemonade on the sidewalk, but the government is looking at stamping this out. Average income is 70,000 cocaine grams, and eventually distributed with the richest citizens only earning 3.9 times as much as the poorest. Running away is an essential part of the elite force's hand-to-hand training. When people ask what the difference is between politicians and lawyers, they refer to document C15IV, section 14, subsection 3.2 of January 2015 Political Category Definition Guidance Codes. Sir Oligarch 13 has been declared best oligarch of Butthenhagen in an international press conference. And people spend a lot on their hair and nails. Crime, especially youth-related, is totally unknown thanks to the very well-funded police force and progressive social policies, education, and welfare. More like paper-thin laws with zero enforcement. Butthenhagen's national animal is the Schlongelschlaf, but for a time was the small child. They frolic freely in the nation's lush forest. Sofas are perpetually on sales. That must end soon. Billions of cocaine grams are being blown into orbital weapons development. The military patrols the streets. No representation without taxation. Crime, especially youth-related, is well under control thanks to a very well-funded police force. Paper-thin laws. Butthenhagen's national animal is the Schlongelschlaf. Its natural religion is the papacy of Mike Damus, though for a time they followed realism. The nation abolished communism in 2024. Marriage is prohibited. Clothing is forbidden without a license. Citizens may be executed for crimes. Citizens may be ordered to undergo physical punishment. Religious sacrifice of human beings is legal. A period of military service is compulsory for all citizens. Private industry is permitted within a black market based economy. Slavery is legal. The nation runs a space program, and the nation claims the legal right to use weapons of mass destruction. 0.8% of government spendings are put towards administration, 36.5 towards defense, 11.5 towards education, 4.6 towards environmental hazards, 5.8 towards healthcare, 9.6 towards industry, 9.6 towards law and order. Something else just happened. We're back. Okay. 2.7 towards public transit, 3.5 towards social policies, 1.2 towards spirituality and religion, and 4.2 towards welfare. Mars is going to become a Death Star. We are cutting all healthcare services for 3 months for the greater good. International trade will also cease for a period, as the tax increase would be better suited to a bubble economy. Since our national debt is below average, I made the personal suggestion to Sir Oligarch 13 that we utilize the Vlorpan Federal Reserve to close the gap in funding. Vlorpa is now as poor as dirt. That is a direct quote from Kelamar Kaksim at his latest briefing. And that is a pretty good overview of Butthenhagen. Their current flag, it's got like a space design. It'll show up in the thing. Yeah, that is all. Thanks for watching this episode of Pleoverse Deep Dive. Please subscribe. Maybe you don't have to. I'm not gonna force you. This isn't like a thing. This is just an escape. I don't particularly. This is just fun. I don't. All right. Dang, this is like 20 minutes. Yeah. Next episode, Pleomopia. I'm kidding. I can't do that. It's too long. All right. Next episode, probably not happening. Bye. Boomer.